students. It's our second session. This is Manasa, and today we are going to discuss figures of speech. As we all know, that in English literature, we use several literary and poetic devices in order to beautify the language of poetry and literature. Or figures of speech play many roles. They aim to highlight the effect of a poetic piece or a literary piece. So can figures of speech can be defined as the literary devices that are used to beautify the effects or to highlight the aesthetic effects of a literary piece. That's why figures of speech are also known as the literary devices, sometimes poetic devices. Uh, there are several words, phrases, and terms that fall into the category of the figures of speech. So today I'm going to discuss 7 to 8 most commonly used figures of speech in English language and literature. They are also used in many other languages, but since our focus is on English literature, so I'm going to discuss the 7 to 8 major l- literary devices or figures of speech with you today. The first one we are going to discuss is pun. Pun can be defined as word plays, uh, like a words play. It is normally used to create humor, and it is a widely used literary device. It isn't only used in poetry but also in prose. For example, as Shakespeare says in Romeo and Juliet, "Ask for me tomorrow, and you shall find me a grave man." This is an excellent example of pun. The second literary device we are going to discuss is personification. Personification is also a widely used literary device as well as uh, a figure of speech. A personification can be defined as imparting human attributes to an abstract object. In other words, you can say uh, you give human attributes to some animals or objects. For example, in one of his poems, Wordsworth says, I think in Daffodils, he says, "I wandered lonely as a cloud." So this comparing himself as with a cloud is an example of personification. He personifies his loneliness as a cloud, or he personifies himself with a cloud in order to highlight the effect of his loneliness. The third figure of speech that is widely used and I'm going to discuss with you guys is metaphor. A metaphor can be defined as a far-fetched simile to me because metaphor and simile are very near to each other. In metaphor, you can compare two similar objects without using the uh, expressions like as or like. But in simile, while comparing or in order to show comparison between two similar objects, you need to use the expressions like as or like. Let me explain the difference between metaphor and simile. When you use a metaphor, you do not use as or like. I mean the words like that. And you directly say uh, he is the lion of our city in order to show the bravery of a person. But in simile, when you want to highlight the bravery of a person, then you you say like that, he's as brave as a lion, and he's as sharp as an eagle, or she's as beautiful as moon. So this is the difference between metaphor and simile. Both are the literary devices and figures of speech, and both are widely used in poetry, particularly in poetry. In other figure of speech that is very near to them is conceit. And a student of English literature knows very well that conceits are normally associated with the metaphysical school of poetry. They are widely used by the school of metaphysical poets like John Donne. Conceits are far fetched similes. You can say the exaggerated similes, the comparison between two totally different objects. As Dr. Johnson criticizes the metaphysical school of poetry, and he highlights by saying that in their poetry, the most heterogeneous ideas are violently yoked together. So, conceit is a far fetched comparison between two opposite objects. And like we all know that John Donne, in one of his poems, he compares uh, his beloved and himself as two sides of compass. So compass and lovers are totally different, but this is the beauty of metaphysical school of poets, that they use such kind of comparisons, and this is called conceit. The next one I'm going to discuss with you guys is alliteration. Alliteration is very common in poetry as well as in prose, as we all know that alliteration means the repetition of sounds. Alliteration further is divided in two categories: assonance and consonance. Assonance refers to the repetition of the vowel sounds, and consonance refers to the repetition of consonant sounds. So, alliteration is the repetition of sounds. Like Shelley says, the furrows follows free. This is the example of alliteration. The next widely used literary device or figures of speech is oxymoron. Oxymoron is a Greek word that is commonly used to show paradoxes, and it aims to generate a humorous effect. It, um, it aims to create laughter. It aims to create, sometimes it is used in irony as well, but most of the times it creates humor with the use of paradoxes. For example, Charles Lamb, in a very there is a very celebrated statement of Charles Lamb that shows oxymoron in it. I like a smuggler. He is the only honest thief. So, smuggler is called an honest thief. This is showing a paradoxical, this is generating a paradoxical effect, and this falls into the category of oxymoron. There are many other uh, commonly used literary devices like antithesis, apostrophe. Apostrophe is antithesis, like again, the highlighting the effects of meaning by opposition is antithesis. Then comes apostrophe. Apostrophe is like you attribute, or you an apostrophe is very much like addressing an abstract idea, a quality, or a dead person as an alive object, or as someone who can understand. So this is apostrophe, and I hope our today's session will remain helpful to you guys for understanding the basic concepts of literary devices and figures of speech. Thanks for listening, and I'm sorry for making any kind of inconvenience in during my lecture. So thank you so much for today. See you in the next lecture. See you in some with some discussion on history for the next time. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.